So I want to talk about structure for a few minutes because structure is never neutral. It either supports thinking or it quietly gets in the way. Most doctoral students do not struggle because they don't care. They struggle because they are surrounded by too much noise, too many expectations, too many half formed ideas about what they should be doing, too many voices telling them what a real literature review looks like. When that happens, effort increases, but progress doesn't. This course is designed to reduce that noise on purpose. Structure, as I'm using that word, is not about control. It's about quiet. Good structure narrows your attention. It gives you fewer things to hold in your head at once so you can think more deeply about the work that actually matters. Bad structure does the opposite. It multiplies tasks, it fragments focus, and it creates the illusion of productivity without much movement underneath all of it. Sure, you stay busy, but you also don't move forward. And I'm not interested in running a course that looks busy, but doesn't actually help you do the work you came here to do. So you'll notice that this course is intentionally constrained. There are fewer moving parts than you might expect. The weekly work follows a pretty predictable rhythm. The expectations repeat, and that repetition is not me being lazy. It's load bearing. When structure stays stable, your thinking can change. And that's the trade-off. This course asks you to slow down in places where academic culture often tells you to speed up, particularly early on. And that's not because the work is easy. It's because rushing through unclear work usually creates more confusion later. Quiet early thinking saves time. This is why you'll also see me returning to the same ideas more than once. Judgment, decision making, making your thinking visible. Those are not things you get in a single pass. They develop through repeated, deliberate practice inside of a stable structure. I also want to be explicit about something because structure here is not meant to overwhelm you. If you ever feel like you are juggling too many things at once, that is a signal. Not that you are failing, but that something may need to be simplified. Part of the work of this course is learning how to notice that moment and respond deliberately instead of just pushing harder. Quiet is not the absence of work. It's the condition that makes real work possible. If this structure is doing its job, you should feel fewer competing demands and more traction over time. Not every week is going to feel smooth, however, but the work should feel directed. And now I want to talk about how work, feedback, and grading actually function in this course. Not in policy language, but literally in practice. Because a lot of the teaching in this course does not happen on video. It happens when I read what you wrote and respond to your thinking. And that's why the weekly work matters. Not because it's busy work, but because coaching requires material. And if you want thoughtful feedback, you need to give me something thoughtful to respond to. That's the exchange this course is going to be built on. The weekly artifacts you produce are not about getting everything right. They're about making your thinking visible so it can be worked with. Drafts, notes, partial arguments, decisions in progress, weekly reflections. In this course, that's where the teaching happens. We don't run on a points for compliance system. You are not being graded on your perfection. You are being evaluated on engagement, development, and the quality of the academic text you produce over the course of the semester. Your final grade is going to reflect two things. First is going to be the final academic text you produce. Second, the artifacts of learning you generate as the semester progresses are going to matter because they show revision, judgment, and decision-making over time. They're going to tell the story of your thinking. And if you stay engaged and keep working, the grading should not surprise you. That doesn't mean there is no standard, because there is. But the standard is improvement and deliberateness, not flawless execution on the first try. I also want to be really clear about flexibility, because life doesn't pause simply because you're in a doctoral course. Some weeks you will have more capacity than others. If you hit a heavy week, do what you reasonably can and then pick it up the next week. This course is built to allow for that. But what it is not built for is ghosting me. Don't disappear, because momentum matters more than perfect pacing. And that doesn't mean rushing. It means staying in relationship with the work, even when the week isn't ideal. Finally, because everyone seems to be talking about this, a brief word about AI, which we will talk more about later. I'm not avoiding that conversation, but tools are only useful once you have judgment, once you know what good work looks like and what decisions you are actually trying to make. Tools can help you work more efficiently, and I think AI is one such tool, but starting with tools before having judgment usually just creates more noise, not less. And right now, I want the focus to be on building the habits and decision-making that make the tools meaningful later. So that's how this course is going to work. You do the work, I respond to your thinking, you revise. And over time, your judgment is going to improve. And if you stay engaged, the system will start to make sense. And the grading will reflect the work you've actually done. It's going to be a good semester.